This is Dianne Andrews in Black and White. The issues you don't want to talk about. The arts and entertainment you need to know. And now here's your host, Dianne Andrews.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm your host of Dianne Andrews in Black and White, and my name is Dianne Andrews. I guess you could figure that one out, right? Today, we're going to do a show for you that is a very special show, and it takes a very special person to come and talk about the things that we're going to talk about today. I've done domestic violence, I've done rape, I've done suicide, where I had other courageous women that have come in and talked about some of the problems they've had and are having in their life, and by being beaten, being sexually abused, by being raped as a teenager. And again, I have to commend, and I want to thank Melissa X for being with me today. Melissa X is HIV positive, and I shake a lot of my people's hands and I hug a lot of my guests. But I'd done a little survey, and I told her, I'd asked people, would you, if you knew someone was HIV positive, would you shake their hand? And a lot of people have told me no. And I asked, would you hug them? They said, definitely no. So that's why I wanted to do this show. We've all seen in the news Sheen, who has come out that he's HIV positive for the last 4 years. Some women say he told them before sex, some women say he didn't. Then we look at Magic Johnson. We've all heard that Magic Johnson was cured of HIV, that he had all these foreign things done in Mexico, had the blood taken out and put back in. In fact, there's a YouTube where he's talking about all these things that people have said. He has lived with HIV, being HIV positive, for 24 years. Now, he doesn't have AIDS, and HIV is the virus. It means human immunodeficiency virus. And AIDS is really the syndrome from the virus. And it's when your T cells, I'm going to let I have a doctor here with us today to talk about patients he's seen, and he's an expert on, he's board certified in family practice. He went to Tulane University, and he went on and went on to medical school at University of Cincinnati. He lived in Pennsylvania for a little while, and then decided, I've got to come back down south where my roots are. I came back to Louisiana. He is currently practicing in Plaquemine, Louisiana, and Family First Medical Clinic over there in Plaquemine.
Yes, ma'am.
So thank you for being here. I know how busy and how hard it is for me to get a doctor to come in, and I know you got to race back off to the office in a few minutes. So thank you, Dr. Edwards, for coming here. But again, a virus is not a bacteria. You cannot take an antibiotic for it. And this virus is transmitted through blood and sometimes through sperm. Is that correct, Dr. Edwards?
That's correct.
Tell them a little more about the virus and the T cell count. I think it's less than 200, which means I can't fight diseases that happen.
That's correct. In our body, our immune system is actually made up of T cells. And to that end, the T cells, when they are infected with the human immunodeficiency virus, do not work correctly, and they prematurely die. So it exposes the individual to other infections that normal individuals without the virus would be able to survive.
Like last week I had the flu, and that would be hard on a person who is HIV positive.
Yes, ma'am, whose T cell count is decreasing. Now,
if your T cell, to be HIV positive, and the only way you can find out right now, how they found out with you was with a blood test, right?
Yes.
And now, I will tell you, Melissa has 2 children, and one is 13 and one is 7. And that's how she really found out that she had the disease, was with the first child through a blood test. When she found that out, she wanted to kill herself. She had a razor ready at her wrist to kill herself. Tell me how that felt, Melissa, when you first found out that you had this. You had a blood test and
devastating.
Yeah.
Hard. It's still hard.
Yeah.
But every day I deal with it. It's, I guess I say I have to now because of my kids.
Right.
And I just make sure I take care of myself, and I do exercise when I can.
Because it kicked in your fibromyalgia,
yeah,
which is very painful. the HIV positive.
Fibromyalgia is, they really don't really understand fibromyalgia yet, so right now they're just saying it's nerve damage.
Okay. What is fibromyalgia really?
Fibromyalgia is a condition where the body starts to ache and hurt. The nerve endings become very sensitive, so just mild touch or movement actually causes intense pain. The problem with fibromyalgia is that other things can worsen it. Stress, poor dietary intake, and things like alcohol and tobacco.
Now, Magic Johnson, if anyone wants to go see his YouTube, he talks about how he's lived. He has no special medicines. He said it's about 30 medicines out there. Again, it's Magic Johnson on YouTube talking about his journey it was 2 years ago, so he had had it 22 years in, and he wanted to dispel any rumors that he had been cured. There is one person who has been cured of HIV, being HIV positive, and he ended up having chemotherapy, ended up getting cancer. They told you about this, and some kind of way it changed his chemistry in his body, and the HIV went away. That is the only person in the world that's ever been cured.
There was also a case of a baby in Mississippi, and they called the child the Mississippi baby.
The miracle, like a miracle. She was cured also,
because it's almost the same thing. When she was first born, her viral load showed real high. But then all of a sudden, they started giving her, I think it was AZT. And as time went on, it said...
It went away.
It went away.
And this guy, he had the chemo, and that was, I think, like 10, 12 years ago, and it never came back. In fact, they're trying to take him and see what could they replicate from his body. And they have not been able to replicate it to cure HIV positive. One person, President George Bush, has been known to save about 5 million lives in Africa during his reign. He gave billions of dollars to Africa. Condoleezza Rice came to him when he was his first or second year there and said, if we don't do something about AIDS, being president, do something about AIDS, it will be a pandemic that will wipe out a generation in Africa. And he said, there's a documentary about it, and you can look at on his presidential library. Bill Clinton said, I saw lives in Africa that you saved. Because everybody in Rwanda, they have a clinic, and a lot of babies get HIV going through the birth canal because of all the blood, I would assume. And I know you had C-sections with yours. And they've done so many tests and inventing so much in Rwanda that has gone down by 80% of how many babies are being born with AIDS in Rwanda, Africa. But George Bush, like him or dislike him, or a Republican or a Democrat, I'm an independent, so, but he said, let's get some other countries and let's give some money to this disease. And he couldn't get anybody. Condoleezza tried, Rice tried, and she couldn't get anybody to help him. He said, okay, we're going to do it ourselves. And he gave $5 billion to Africa for AIDS and to malaria. And they talk about that in his presidential library. There's some information about it, and that's what Bill Clinton said to him when he spoke at the opening of his library, that I give you credit for saving 5 million people in Africa and cutting out this disease to not be a pandemic as it was headed for. So that was one little keynote I like to put in plugs for good people when they do good things. Even Bono said, I'm a Democrat, but he did a great job in that, because Bono's the singer. He said some things about George Bush also. But let's talk about a little bit, as you were just saying, you exercise, and that's what Michael Jackson, Magic Johnson, I want to call him Michael Jackson. Magic Johnson said that he made sure he eats right, and he takes exercise, and he takes a cocktail, he calls it. He said there are only 30 medicines out there. He doesn't take anything special. And he takes 3 medicines every night, and he called it his HIV positive cocktail. Now, you're very blessed. Tell us about how often you've taken medicine, and since they found out you were HIV positive.
I did take AZT with my daughter, and thank God that she's negative.
And you had the C-section too.
Yeah, and I had the C-section. And with my 6 years later, I had my son. And they told me I was healthier with him. So I really didn't need to have a C-section, but I just wanted to because I wanted to have my tubes tied.
More protection for your child.
It's just, to me, it just felt better. I mean, why it don't make any sense for me not to have another C-section?
Right.
Just to lessen his chances.
Right. Now, when you, when people, like, you know, I wanted to make sure people know you cannot catch this virus by shaking hands and hugging somebody. That's why I wanted to make sure with Melissa, you all out there realize I'm not even worried that I've got HIV after shaking her hand or hugging her. And tell us why, Dr. Edwards, it's more in the sperm. Is the only reason because there's more blood in the sperm?
There's blood. There is blood. But more importantly, it is protecting yourself. There are more men in America with HIV.
Right.
HIV is not a disease of just gay people.
Oh, of course.
It's a disease of all people.
That's right.
And if you don't protect yourself, and if you don't know your status, you're putting your partner and all your partner's partners and all your partners at risk. It doesn't seem to be obvious, but yes, there is blood, microscopic amounts in semen, and that allows for the transmission of the disease.
And that's why those are the two fluids that HIV can be carried.
Are known to be carried in.
With a female, though, is known. It depends on how much the female has. I guess I'll see how much the virus is in her system, but it can be carried in your breast milk also.
Really? In the baby's breast?
So they would tell you the female, the mother can't breastfeed.
But 99.9% of the time, I think it's blood and somewhat in sperm. And then if you're pregnant, you better talk to the doctor about breastfeeding, I guess.
Each individual is different. That's how with me. I guess I'll say blessed that there are some rare few who doesn't need to take meds.
But are still HIV positive.
Yeah, even though we've been having it, well, I have, my case has been 15 years.
Right.
And there are some that we call controllers. And meaning that our viral load, our bodies could control the virus on its own without the meds.
But you could still transmit it to someone if you didn't take precautions during your sexual
It depends
encounters.
on each situation. Because me personally, it's hard. I'm not going to say hard or impossible. It is possible. It's just a 1% chance of me passing it.
Oh, okay. But you still take precautions. Tell the audience who may be dealing with this out there what kinds of things. We talked about the female condom, and you bought one. Yeah, we're going to show it.
These are the types of female condoms that's out there, and there's the instructions on the back to show you how to use it.
And these in the drugstore, just like regular condoms that we see.
You can go and buy these out the drugstore.
I don't know how many of you have seen the ad where a gentleman's laying on a couch and they're about to have sex, and the lady, he drops the condom on the floor, and the lady picks out of her back pocket and say, here, I got one. I mean, it's on all the time. So us talking about condoms is pretty normal now, and that's what we want people to use. And especially these female condoms. I didn't even know about it until I did another show before on rape. I didn't even know they sold them. And they're in Walgreens, drugstores everywhere. I'd never seen them before.
Or you could just get them from, there's like little clinics or something like that.
The health units.
The health units give them out to them. But if a normal person not even having this and just, for not having HIV positive, you may want to use a condom just because you don't know.
The good thing about those will be worn for hours at a time. And
he doesn't even know you have it on. Come on back to us, Dianne Andrews in Black and White. We're going to take a quick break. And I think this is information everybody needs to know. Come on back to Dianne Andrews in Black and White. Let's hear some more about AIDS. Thank you all. audience. Thanks for coming back. Also, you out there in YouTube land and you out there in TV land. As you know, we're a statewide program now. We do issues and we're all over the state of Louisiana. I think we come on in Baton Rouge about 4 or 5 times a week, Shreveport twice, New Orleans twice, Lafayette twice, Alexander twice a week. So we're the largest show in the state of Louisiana, and happy to bring you some of these issues that you've let us know that you're interested in, and keep tuning in to Dianne's in Black and White. Now, before we left, we were talking about female condoms. Again, I'd never heard of it until I did a show last year on rape and domestic violence. I'd never heard of female condoms until I was investigating. And these are some recommendations that people have. Dr. Edwards and Melissa, you can get these from your clinic if you are HIV positive. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
And they give them to you. Or AIDS.
Yeah.
There are 35 million people in the world living with HIV, AIDS, or AIDS. What does it take? And each body may be different, but Dr. Edwards, is there a threshold, a low threshold to say, okay, my T cell count is less than 200, now I have AIDS, or it's less than 100? When does it go into full-blown AIDS?
Full-blown AIDS is below 200. However, at 400, below 400, your body starts to change, and it starts to break down because it cannot fight off common infections. So it's a progressive disease, and that's what makes it so dangerous, because if you're not seeking medical care on a regular basis and not keeping yourself as healthy as possible, it makes it worsen and quicken the demise of the individual.
So for you all out there in the audience and out there in my TV audience also, to understand that when I am told that I'm HIV, a person is told they're HIV positive, then you need to do all the things that the doctor is telling you to do, because you can get AIDS from being HIV positive.
That's
if you're
correct.
not taking care of yourself. If you're never HIV positive, you cannot get AIDS.
That's correct.
AIDS is, HIV is the virus. Again, it's not like a bacteria that I can take an antibiotic for. It's like the flu, like pneumonia, which there are really no cures for any viruses out there, Dr. Edwards?
That's correct.
Yes.
But we can provide medicines. You said earlier that Magic Johnson has a cocktail.
Right.
And those things keep the production of the virus as low as possible.
Now, I wanted to let people know, too, again, 35 million people in the world. And as Dr. Edwards said earlier, 50 to 60% in the world are women. In Africa, it's 60% women. And it was higher than that before the treatments and the monies that this country gave to Africa to help them fight off the disease and get more education and get more of these cocktail medicines over there in Africa. So, but Baton Rouge, let's talk about Baton Rouge. We are #1 in the state for the new incidences of HIV/AIDS. And we're also, when you look at the state of Louisiana, we're pretty high per capita. You can go into the Baton Rouge AIDS Society website and it has all the figures. Black people are about 12 to 13% of the population in America, but we're 46% of the cases diagnosed with HIV or AIDS. So we know that there are some concerns in minority communities. And do you think it's more education, or do you think it's more not getting tested and then it goes into full-blown AIDS before they know? Do you have any idea? Do you treat many patients, Dr. Edwards, with the virus or the syndrome?
Well, first of all, you have almost a two-part question.
I do, yeah.
The first part is having access to good medical care would be the first thing.
Right.
However, before that, you need to know your own status through testing. There are lots of places that you can get tested. There is a certain amount of stigma. No one really wants to know. But the thing is that not only does it protect you, but it protects your family. It protects your loved ones.
Because you could transmit the disease to someone else without even knowing.
Correct.
Yeah.
The second part is that once you do get tested and you are positive, that's not a death sentence. Again, everybody remembers and thinks of Magic Johnson.
Right.
On the other hand, if you are positive and seek no further care, you will die. If you seek no further care, but you continue to have practices that allow you to spread the disease, you're going to spread the disease. In this whole situation, it boils down to one small important fact: having the courage to be tested and to follow a regimen. Yes, I treat patients that have HIV. There's several practices that are exclusive in this area treating HIV. However, if you think that something is bad, you will avoid it.
Right.
The problem is HIV was thought at the beginning in America to be only in certain socioeconomic groups of people.
And male. And it was really thought to be a gay disease, I should say, in the beginning.
Not only was it a gay disease, but it was also a disease of IV drug abusers.
Right, right.
It was a disease of prostitution.
Yeah.
Maybe male or female.
Right.
Prostitutes. But when it hit middle America, then it became slightly different.
Right.
Today, being HIV positive may be likened to, we discussed earlier, having kidney disease, kidney failure, and you're on dialysis. There are resources to help you with that.
Could you give any in Baton Rouge if someone wants to be tested? I guess you can go to your regular doctor if you want, or are there clinics here?
There are several clinics. There are several places that you can actually be tested anonymously. You can even go to the blood bank. You can donate blood to get tested.
Because they're not going to give your blood out if they know that you have some problems and disease in your blood. Like I'm anemic, and I was doing some blood for a surgery. I was having my own blood, and when they said you too low to even give your own blood, so I had to go build myself up with iron before I could even give my blood for my own surgery. You can use your own blood and have it there instead of getting someone else's blood. So Melissa in New Orleans, Melissa again is coming to us from New Orleans. Tell me what kind of...
There's a couple of places. There's one on Tulane, and No AIDS Task Force makes a big difference for a lot of people with a positive status. And us also, every year, they have what they call it empowerment. And it empowers us and teaches us things that's new out there, new medicines that might be coming out, and a lot of different other things that we really need to know.
At the end of the day, if you take care of yourself, HIV, being HIV positive, is no death sentence.
Yeah,
and it's not necessarily going to go into AIDS if you can do all the things. Magic Johnson is a true testimony of that, 24 years. Now, probably got people who've been living longer with AIDS if they take care of themselves. And you got people who live shorter because they don't take care of themselves. If they're given a cocktail, they don't take it every night. You have to be serious with your health, especially when you know you have a problem, whether that's being HIV, positive, or some other things you may have, like we talked about kidney failure, dialysis. You got to go to dialysis 3 times a week to get taken care of. What advice would you give to people who think, let's say you had dated someone and then you find out, oh my God, they died of AIDS, you know, because it takes 5 to 10 years. Gestation, is that the right amount of years in your body before it may show up?
Yeah, from what I was told, you have to. Well, I had got sick, and that's when it, I guess I'll say, it kicked in. Yeah. That's when it...
Your body has to have some stress condition that will bring the virus forward. If you're exposed to the virus, does that mean at that point in time you get it? Yes. Does it mean that you're now expressing the infection? Possibly not. But it does take a stress to the body to allow the virus to start replicating at a faster rate than the body can control itself.
And that's what you were saying, that's what when you're HIV positive, that's what happens. It starts replicating
even faster
in your body faster than normal, than it should. What are some of the new meds out there, Dr. Edwards? Are they constantly coming up with new meds? Since you don't have to take them that often, you're blessed.
I know that there's one. Now, a lot of people they like to speculate that this is a cure, but it's not.
There is no cure.
There's one called the PrEP pill, and if one partner is positive and the other one is not, then the one who's not positive could take the PrEP pill, and it's supposed to keep them from getting the virus. This is a non-latex, for those who may be allergic to latex condoms, but this is one that I have received
from your clinic. T-cell clinic. That's the name. Is that the name of the clinic? T-cell clinic?
And you could go on the back of it. There's a number and a web address and a website that you could go to, and it would help you understand some things where you can go and get tested for free. So there's a lot of places out there that's actually willing to help you, but you gotta want the help. You gotta actually go out there and say, you know what, I'm gonna protect myself with, you know.
Now, when you've told
Now,
me,
Ms. Andrews, can I just restate something differently?
Sure.
You talked about medicines, and you talked about the new medicines that are coming out. As with any other disease process, the older meds in some ways were better than the newer meds. A lot of doctors and a lot of patients are very apprehensive about trying new medicine because it doesn't have a true track record. TCD has been out for a very long time. It was probably one of the first HIV medicines present, an antiviral that stops the replication of the virus. So there are new medicines coming out, but there's no assurance.
Not necessarily better.
Thank you.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I agree with that. I think Haldol for psychosis is still one of the best ones out there that I've seen work with patients, because I'm in healthcare also. Tell me how it felt when you told your first sexual encounter, Melissa, after you always tell the person, right, that you are HIV positive. So you meet this guy, and you all start liking each other, and you know things progress. How do you tell them up in the beginning, or do you kind of wait right before sex, or how do you handle it?
Most of the time, I said
up in the beginning.
That way, I'll know if the guy is serious about me.
Right.
Because I understand that it may seem scary, but these days,
it's the right thing to do.
Unfortunately, people, yes, not
it's the
just
right
that.
thing to do.
And but for me, like I said, I like to be honest and upfront. That way, I'll know if he's serious
or if he just wanted sex. And
yeah.
So, and you probably tell people there are ways, you know, people are uneducated, you know, never knew anybody with HIV positive. If they care enough about you, they're willing to learn. And to look at Magic Johnson's wife, Cookie.
We can have the conversation. I mean, there's nothing wrong with talking about it. I mean, this is why I wanted to do this show, because
I appreciate you're very courageous to do it.
It's because there's people are afraid to talk about it.
Right.
And then
that's what this show's about. Things you don't want to talk about but need to know.
Getting tested and protecting themselves. That's the best way to. First, you have to go get tested, and then if it's negative, then protect yourself.
Right.
The best way not to.
You can't ignore it.
Yes. The best way not to catch HIV and AIDS is to protect yourself.
Again, Louisiana is very high. Baton Rouge is the highest in the state of Louisiana.
In the nation.
In the nation, too. Not just the state, in the nation.
Yeah, we're number one.
Yeah, I think it's 13 to 24 or something. They have some age groups, because you've got people as young as 13 having HIV and not being born with it, but acquire it after they're 12 years old. So we know they're having sex earlier these days.
Yeah.
And there are more incidents of HIV and a lot more incidents of AIDS than we want to see out there. That's what this show is about, to bring you people like Melissa, who's courageous enough to help other people, to bring Dr. Edwards in here, who can tell you some things, and his practice is in Plaquemine if you want to know some more. So thank you very much for coming to us, Dianne Andrews in Black and White, and continue to watch us out there on YouTube land and in television in the state of Louisiana. Bye-bye, and we'll see you next time.